Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're taking a look at the Yinyoo Ash. This is a one dynamic driver, one balanced armature earphone, and it's one of Yinyoo's newest models, kind of after the Topaz, which was a much higher end model. This is, you can see on the paper, it's about $35.99 on Amazon today, whereas the Topaz I think is $100 and something. But this is a very nice model, and what sort of new about this model, and maybe in this price range, is you can see that resin 3D printing. So it's actually, the cable itself, not so much a super fan. I like something a little heavier, but the way it's twisted, it's pretty much tangle free, which is super nice. Preformed ear hooks, which you could sort of see there. But what's sort of different about, physically about these things is the shape of it. This little, you can almost see it, this little wing right here. So these are super lightweight, super comfortable, and I'm not sure it's all due to this little wing, but if we look at another super comfortable model, that the KZ ZSN Pro, you can kind of see how flat this one was. And this is kind of a standard, new KZ standard shell, whereas the Yinyoo is almost molded to the electronics inside. It's got this opaque back, a little logo on it, but the rest of it is kind of super smooth and molded and light. I wasn't such a super fan about these pins because they're super small, compared to the Yinyoo, which, there's quite a shrinkage in the pins right there. So it feels a little fragile. I don't really pull them off all that often, so it doesn't really bother me, but inserting them for the first time, I was like, whoa, those are some tiny pins and a tiny connector. But the rest of it's pretty standard. I think this is actually a coated silver-plated cable, probably your standard 4-core gold-plated plastic Y connector there. So on the physical side, that's what those are like. Sound wise, these guys have been my kind of go-to rock pair. I talked about this in my unboxing. These seem to be amazing for sort of rock music, and I don't know if maybe we'll go over some of the sound characteristics sort of with my playlist here. So I think I talked about this in the unboxing, but when I'm kind of going through my playlist when I get a new pair of headphones, I kind of hit on Linkin Park's Bleed It Out, and I don't know why, but it actually sounds really amazing on these guys. And kind of getting into the sound characteristics, I think a lot of it is, one, Yinyoo called these bass sound DJ headphones, and yeah, there is plenty of bass, plenty of punch, plenty of kind of sub bass, thump, rumble, whatever you want to call it. But you have to get the right tips. If these things don't fit in your ear right, you will get not no bass, but super thin bass. So please make sure you're wearing the right tips. If these sound off in any way, it's probably because it doesn't fit right. So Bleed It Out, it's got kind of a bunch of bass punch, but where these really kind of shine is the imaging. And I'm not sure that even these guys are kind of champs at the $20 range, and these being $35 or wherever they go on sale, kind of in that similar price range. But I think these image a lot better than these guys, and that makes a huge difference with some of these songs. And that's kind of why my playlist looks the way it does. Is if you watch my other videos, I sort of love the vocals. I love Christina Perri or Brandi Carlile or Sia or Sam Smith, any of the other kind of strong vocal, airy I love hearing that natural voice through earphones. That's not these guys. These are definitely your outside rocking out. Loud volume helps a lot with these guys. I don't have the graph in front of me, but these kind of standard V, there is a little recessed mid. Not doesn't really show up in these, but Sam Smith I think was one. Macy Gray was another one. If the voice just happens to lie in this little, I think their V kind of starts maybe a little too early, because some vocals sound a little bit recessed, but as soon as you get a vocal that's a little higher up on the scale, it's fine. But those were kind of the two. Macy Gray I think was one that you really kind of notice, like, well, it just sounds just a tiny bit recessed from where I like it. Could you EQ that back in place? Sure, I think that would probably work well, but I really wasn't going for it on these. So bass all there, make sure the tips are there. On the mid side, I don't think they're all that recessed, just a tiny bit on the lower side where you notice it. But the treble, I think my personal take on it is it rolls off, or it's relaxed just maybe a little bit early. Cymbal crashes, all the high-end stuff that I typically were looking for with the vocals, to hear those fine, precise sounds. Again, not so much in these. These guys, I wouldn't use them for these. And that's sort of why Linkin Park guitars, if you hear that high-end guitar, not distorted electric guitar, but actual guitar notes, sounds absolutely amazing. But this is not your orchestra pair. So next, kind of Radiohead's Everything in Its Right Place. And that's sort of how I summed up my feeling on these guys, is when you listen to it, all the instruments are in the right place. Not that the soundstage is super wide or anything. It's definitely wider than, I think it's a little wider than these guys. But that's not really what you notice. What you notice is the actual imaging of very precise locations of instruments. And you don't get that, especially with like Linkin Park or Radiohead, where they have a kind of a dense layering of music. You just don't get, well, it sounds great. You don't get what you traditionally get, which is a big mix of sound in the middle of your head. It's super precise. I couldn't really get enough of some songs. Radiohead was one of them, but Sympathy for the Devil, especially this 50th anniversary Beggar's Banquet version, couldn't stop listening to it with these guys. It's not the fastest rock song, but the way they imaged and located all the instruments and the way it was recorded and mastered sounds absolutely amazing on these pair. Definitely my favorite, even over these guys. And is it $15, maybe $15 more to listen to a better version of Sympathy? Yeah, it's kind of there. I think these are a good general all around, but there's a certain occasion where, especially in the last couple of weeks, when I was listening to these guys, they just sound absolutely amazing in that range. And I think part of it comes down to the decay on these. Is it has a really fast decay, and these guys, the KZ, especially the ZSNs, if you're listening to a vocal like Christina Perri or Brandi Carlile, that voice just lingers a little bit. It becomes kind of this airiness to it. You can kind of hear their echoes and reverberations after the note stops. So much longer decay. On these guys, it seems to be super fast, and that lends itself to this faster music where you're not so much concentrated on someone's voice, but you're hearing instruments hit really hard. So, and that's why I picked. So Lady Gaga, these are not Shallow, these are not Joanne, Lady Gaga, these are Telephone. Listen to Telephone with these guys. Her older, faster, dancier stuff, perfect for these guys. And I think New Order Blue Monday sort of sums up what I'm trying to talk about. It's, that pure note hitting hard, almost hear no decay. That's what these guys kind of excel at. That's kind of a harsh song to listen to with the notes, but that's kind of where my thinking was going on the decay, and why a lot of these songs sound amazing on it, because they don't rely on, hearing the human voice next to the microphone, totally transparent with all the reverberations and echoes. That's not these guys. The musicality on these guys is kind of where it's at. And so the Smiths and REM, I kind of put those in the same category of, that guitar, the Smiths guitar, REM guitar, all those notes sound absolutely amazing, and all the layering and imaging, that is exactly where the Ash lies. And just totally amazing. REM's Drive, I probably should have put it on here, but I actually like the Smiths more, so I kind of went with the Smiths. But same idea, that kind of male voice where it's not super deep. Michael Stipe and Morrissey kind of have the same range, but the guitars are kind of where it's at. So that's kind of why those guys are there. And then I mentioned Sympathy for the Devil. If you have the Ash, please go grab the 50th anniversary version and listen to it. Absolutely amazing. Can't really get enough of that. So kind of to sum up, I would say, so the Ash kind of lies not where I actually like the KZNs more for the quiet vocals. It's definitely more detailed on the ZSNs. On this guy, I think because there's such a fast decay, and the highs, the trebles are relaxed, you miss some of the very fine details that I was listening to on these guys. But, what you get is some amazing, mid-range musicality that doesn't sound nearly as good. I mean, Sympathy for the Devil sounds good anywhere because that's an amazing recording. But, Linkin Park and Rolling Stones, absolutely amazing on these guys. So that's sort of dance music. I listen to a lot of EDM. It's sort of split. There's plenty of bass here, but kind of the fast decay, I don't know. I think it sort of, I don't know. I'm not sure which one is actually better. It's probably the Ash, but that one's kind of a tough one. But so I think I'll leave it there, and I might do a follow-up on these guys, more of a critical listening, because I think, like I said, the imaging is absolutely amazing on these guys, and there's probably some other characteristics which are stellar as well. You just wish, on the treble side, you're like, well, maybe they should have rolled it off a little later so there'd be more detail on the high end, but maybe it just didn't work out when they were building it. So that would probably be my biggest complaint, is some of the very high-end details just aren't there. But if you're listening to Linkin Park, it's not an issue. Those details aren't there really anyway. You're really trying to listen to all the instruments, clearly defined, head banging, toe tapping. That's what the Ash does really well. So really liked it, and I'll continue listening to these guys for a while, and I might do a follow-up. But for now, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.